right. Good afternoon, Mr. Abdul Rahim. So good to
Hello.
see you again. Thank you for agreeing to do this. As you know, you're one of our most valued judges on the independent judging panel. So thank you so much for giving us your time. Um, we're going to ask you just a few questions. But before we do that, if I could just say one or two things about you, and of course, please do tell us more if the opportunity comes up. So, for those of you who are watching us and do not know Mr. Abdul Rahim, he is the co-founder and director of Crowd Helix. I never quite know how to say it. Helix.
Yeah, that's fine. Crowd
That's
Helix.
fine. Okay, then. He specializes in the area of innovation and research and development. Mr. Abdul has helped design, build, and manage one of the most effective networks in Europe that I know of. And I happen to know when it's first started, and it's been such great support to a lot of our members. And I'm so glad that it's still standing and it's growing every day. I think the speciality, and of course you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's looks very much at research and development, innovation funding, and the strategic partners are mostly universities. Am I right in that?
Yes, it is universities and small businesses as well. But yeah,
All right. Okay. So this session is for 30 minutes, but we're going to talk for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up and see if any of our women and even men may have one or two questions for you. So the first thing that comes to my mind is you're an entrepreneur. You So you have the experience. I see you as an innovator too, because every time I've met you, you've come up with some brilliant ideas that are quite innovative. And of course, this network that you helped set up is one of those innovative ideas that you had in terms of support for the universities. And especially at this time, I'm sure that they're going to be looking at strategic ways to bring on board more and more people in order to move research and development forward. So one of the first questions I would like to ask is, let's just go straight to the point. Access to funding. It's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of our women have. How do we access funding? Now, before you answer, let me just say that we had an event last month, and a lot of what was being discussed was not about access to funding, but I feel that if there was that easier access to funding, perhaps some of those products would have gone further. There would have been growth. So let's start from that point of view. Give us your views about access to funding.
I think if you look at the media and you look around, you hear so much money being raised by startups, by established businesses, and access to funding is a continuous thing. So it's not just at the beginning of your business. You need it to scale, and once you've scaled, you need it again and again and again. So it's very important. What is also important is, as it seems, there's a lot of money around. So in theory, everybody should be able to get some. But in practice, what you find is it's very, very thematic, or it is very, very focused on certain areas of future growth. So having a business idea is great, but actually preparing for funding is very, very important. And you used a very broad term, access to funding. So that can be funding from your own money. It can be loans, it can be debts, it can be even government funding. There's a lot of public money that is there to help businesses grow and scale. And it's just a lot of effort you have to put in to get that money. So I think access to funding has to be lined up with what you want to do with your business. Because I come across a lot of entrepreneurs that want to raise funding from investors, but they haven't paid enough attention to how much they would give away of their business. They
Mm,
want the money, but they don't look at what it is they're willing to give away.
right.
So there is plenty of money out there. That's all I can say. It just needs to be channeled in
Yes,
the right
I mean,
areas.
I hear about it. Even today, someone sent me a message saying, "Here's my prototype. It's a great product. Here it is. Can you please connect me with some investors who can help me grow my
Yeah.
business?" And of course, a lot of what you've just said, is true. But let's just go back to basics a little. So I've got this beautiful, wonderful product, and I think it's absolutely amazing. My friends and family feel that it is. So can you tell me, what would you advise me to do from the very start? And I need the money.
Yeah.
What would you say to me?
I think this is a difficult one because I know from experience that a lot of business people um, don't know where to go for the money. They actually don't, they might have a fantastic idea. They don't know how much they'll need. And just doing a business plan is not enough. They haven't thought that through. How much do I need? Where do I go? They don't have the connections. And when you look at, for example, women in business or women innovators, it's even more difficult because there are statistics and reports after reports saying that women-led businesses suffer when it comes to raising investments for many, many reasons. So I think the issue really is about making sure that the product is world class, if possible, or the idea is world class. It's going to be an international product, so it can be scaled internationally, and that it's going to make an impact. Is your product going to change anything? That's not to say that if you're going to open a restaurant, you can't raise money. Of course you can, but it's a different kind of money. But if you're looking at innovation, if you're looking at cutting edge technologies, then truly it has to be innovative so as to attract investors. But as I said a few minutes ago, the first thing is to actually, do I want investors on board? And what kind of investors do I want? From the work I do, I get a lot of, just like you said, somebody sending you a prototype and saying, help me raise money. I get a lot of people saying, can you get me a grant? And that's, again, it's a similar kind of thing, saying, well, why do you want a grant? What kind of grant do you want? How much effort are you going to put into it? Because it's not easy money. It sounds like free money, but it's a lot of effort that has to be put in to get this money.
Yeah. One of the things that occurred to me is it's not, there's a lack of confidence sometimes. I mean, I've seen great products, and I have to say, because you spoke about high technology there, and I've seen some brilliant products because they're nurturing products, they're caring products. They are low technology though, but high viability.
Yeah.
Now, and I see that a lot of the women that come to us are not coming to us unless, of course, they're coming from the academic world of where research and development is rife, and that's where most of the time you find research and development kind of innovations. But when you're looking at the lone inventor, the lone innovator, some of those products are products that we actually need. One of the women that we spoke to at the last event had a food product, and she was speaking about how innovative it is, how wonderful it is for our health in terms of the natural ingredients and the process of getting that food from the farms to us. Now, how does that person go about it in terms of getting the right strategic partners? Because I'm not so sure that if you really want to flood the market with this product, that you can do it on your own.
I think that is a key word. And you mentioned the lone inventor or the lone entrepreneur. And the issue is it's impossible to know every aspect of business. So one, you don't know every aspect of business. Two is if you're new to business, then your network isn't mature. So you're not going to find the right people to be able to get you the money, etc. So there are two pieces of advice really for the lone inventor or somebody who's got like the product you mentioned, is actually try and find an individual who can coach you. Somebody who, they don't necessarily have to be from the same sector, but they has the broader business experience and they can help you speed up your knowledge, your learning. So coaching is a great way. The other thing is to raise money on your own is very, very difficult. And also you're taking a lot of risks. So the other thing that the lone entrepreneur, and it's a hard one, myself included, is to identify partners who are strong in certain areas that you can work with. That comes back to the question of equity. You know, if you own 100% of your business, but it's going nowhere, or do you bring in somebody and give them 5% or 10% or 20% and they have that share of the business? And then you have to learn to work in a collaborative manner, which is different to running your own way. One area I think a lot of small businesses don't take opportunity of is public infrastructure. And the biggest ones and the best ones, in my opinion, are universities. Universities aren't just for training students or teaching them, getting them degrees. Universities have some of the latest equipment. They have the latest areas of knowledge. They have academics who are sharing their knowledge on a daily basis. And a lot of academics I come across would love to work with businesses. And a lot of this resource can be tapped into either for free or very low cost. So you can collaborate with universities. Even though your product may not be high tech, you can collaborate with universities, leverage their assets, basically. And that the assets, by assets, I mean space, I mean the individual academic knowledge, even students. You can get internship programs, etc., to help you in one way. In fact, just for my own business, we've just signed a contract today to take a 3-month intern from one of the top universities in London, who is going to look at marketing, but using artificial intelligence. Now, I don't have that knowledge myself, but this young student, because they want to develop a track record, are willing to work with me, and the university is willing to work with us. So suddenly we have that capacity, extra capacity for almost zero cost, and everyone wins. So we just, like you talked about collaboration and knowledge, and this is how we need to learn to work with other people. And sometimes it's difficult for entrepreneurs when they're on their own. They feel that if they share, their idea will be stolen, or if they do this, somebody else is always out to get them. And there are, of course, stories of that happening as well. But I think there's more benefit in working, especially. So my simplest advice will be, first of all, get to your nearest university, because they are the source of a lot of capacity that can be shared with you.
So if we take on board what you're saying now, which I totally agree with, but for that person who's never really gone to the university, just give us an idea that there must be a particular department or route that you can take just to make it easy, because the university is a huge place and with so many departments and so many subject matters, that where do you start from? If you could just give us an idea of how to go about it.
And it's a tough one, because universities are trying to reach out and businesses want to reach in, but there isn't an easy path. One of the easiest ways, I think, is to go onto a search engine and find the university you're looking for. Maybe go on the university's website, and then in the search box, just type in business and see what comes up. So there is that route. The other route is a lot of regions across Europe and indeed the world have economic development departments in their local authority or their regional agency, and they can ask them, how can I connect with the universities? And there will be a connection made as well. So if you don't know anybody directly, then that's the way. And as an entrepreneur, you're used to sort of having to make 5 calls to get the results. So make 5 calls, ring one person, they'll say, I don't know. They'll put you to somebody who's not the right person. Eventually you'll get to the right person. But a lot of universities have business units. They are either reaching out to work with businesses, or they offer consultancy to businesses. Whichever way, just find a way in. It's not that difficult.
Thank you for that, because it just kind of reminds me years back when there was this Lambert report and a lot of universities were working, hand in hand with the small businesses, but it just seemed as if it's kind of dying, and we need to kind of revive that and allow people to know about that. Now, can I just ask you about your, being as a judge? Now,
Sure.
you would have been seeing a lot of the nominations, and one of the questions that's asked is, did you raise finance? How did you raise your finance? And thankfully, I'm not a judge, but I have noticed that some people find it very difficult to respond to that question. Is it something that you look at when you're looking at the nominations? Do you look to see whether someone has taken that effort or taken some kind of route? And is it something that you want to see? Because personally, if you've got a product and you haven't thought about that aspect of investment, or are you going to keep it small? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but in terms of growth, is that something that you look at? So just give us an idea as a judge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very important that how the company is going to grow is part of the presentation, if you like, because it may, people always say, I need finance, and that is one area, but what are you going to use the finance for? Are you going to use to employ people? So if you're going to employ people, then you could do a shortcut and not just go for the finance and find the people, maybe invite them in as a partner or as a stakeholder in your business. So you don't need the finance. So it's about, as you rightly said, growth. So it goes back one more step: is you have a product. Is it really for a local community in a local area?
Mm.
If that's the ambition, again, like you said, there's nothing wrong with it. Or do you have an ambition to be in national grocery stores, for example, if we're talking about the food example? Or do you have an ambition to sell online globally? So the first thing is ambition, and then that has to then match with the quality of the product, or is it a world-class product if you're going to sell it across the world?
Mm.
And I'm saying it as if it has to be high tech. It doesn't have to be high tech. It can be low tech. It can be, but is it good enough to compete on a global scale? Is there global demand? So I think it's judging it from that side: does the product match the ambition? And does the owner's thinking match the ambition? For me, that's key. So if somebody said to me, I really want to conquer the Asian community in Hounslow or East London, that's not a problem. But in reality, it's not a big enough impact to say, well, actually, you'll get investment or you'll get huge amounts of support. And that business is more like a lifestyle business. On the other hand, if somebody says, I've developed something for people with a particular condition and it's a global condition, we know there's 45 million people in the world who suffer from this, and this is what I'm going to do in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And then the question is, how are you going to finance that growth? Because it's not going to be easy.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the women that spoke to me last week mentioned wanting to grow, but not wanting to compromise on the quality of her product. Now, does that come with negotiation skills of how to get the best deal? What would you say? Because when we really are serious, we want to get some
Yeah.
of these products into marketplace.
Yes. So I think if somebody said to me that they don't want to compromise on quality, the first assumption that they're making and they're asking me to believe is that product is of the highest quality.
Right.
Okay, so that's got to be important. So if your quality is not very good and you're not willing to compromise, or if there's health and safety issues, then obviously there's a problem. But if somebody says, well, I'm not willing to compromise on quality or on color or whatever else, whatever the product might be, that's fine. It's not a problem. Then the question is, does that match with your pricing and marketing strategy? If you're not willing to compromise, you're looking for a niche market. And have you priced your product according to that niche? So if somebody says, I have the best quality item and I'm not going to compromise, and the market rate of a similar product is $4 US dollars, and they're pricing it at 150, it doesn't really link up. If they're pricing it at $15 and they can justify it because the quality is superior, far superior, is going to give the user much more benefit, then there's a business there. There's a business plan.
Wow. Well, we're kind of running out of time now, and I could ask you so many questions, but I'm sure that after, I mean, this is going to be a pre-recorded showing on the day on the 27th. Um, but I'm sure that some of the women would have their own questions and comments to make on what you have said. So I won't want to keep you too much on this, but on a kind of final note, is there one thing that you would like to say about educating yourself? Because there are a lot of the things that you said just now that makes me feel, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned a few things. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, do I need to go for some training? And how long will that take? And and there is that other aspect that when you don't know something, when you're not well informed, then you don't feel you can make those kind of decisions that can help you. So, on a final note, what would you like to say about that?
I would say that if you're a lone entrepreneur and you want to learn everything, it's going to be a lifetime activity. You will not be able to learn everything. Instead, what you need to do is you need to learn where to find the answers. So if finance is not your strongest subject, you need to know someone who is going to give you that answer. And that's the key entrepreneurial skill, is actually knowing someone or somewhere where you get the right answer and you can trust that and you can then implement it. So don't try to learn everything, just focus on what you're really, really good at and build a team around you. When I say a team, they don't all have to be employed by you. They can be, as I mentioned, universities, they can be friends, they can be family, but it's a trusted source where you go to. So have a go to marketing, have a go to finance, have a go to HR. And there are lots of resources online as well, of course. But don't try to learn everything.
On that note, Mr. Abdul Rahim, thank you so very much. I feel that I feel very enlightened, a lot much more enlightened than I was before I started speaking to you. I'm sure that there's much, much more to learn from you, but I just have to stop now and say huge appreciation to the information that you have shared with us. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for your time.
Thank you, Bola. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.